Report.
Everything's status quo, sir.
Very well. If anyone needs me, I'll be in my ready room.
Welcome to the Readier Room, the only and officially longest-running Star Trek The Next Generation rewatch podcast. Every week we're bringing you stories from behind the scenes of The Next Generation of Star Trek and telling them to you on about a 7-day rotating basis. My name is Mitchell Mells, Chief Consultant of Services at Paramount, and with me is my life partner, Brandon Hobbs. And Brandon, congratulations on our 100th episode.
100 episodes, my friend.
100 right. Episodes. Good
100
Lord.
Episodes. I can't believe we made it this far. 100 episodes.
Yeah, this one goes out to all of the haters and the doubters in the world who said it could not be done. You cannot talk about Star Trek The Next Generation for 100 episodes. They said nobody would listen to it. They said you would have an average of about 3 views on your YouTube page. They said, let it be known.
Yep. Namely Stan Eastbury.
Yeah.
You can suck it.
He knows who he is, and he knows where we are, and he knows the amount of foot in his mouth right now.
Yep. It's a great feeling.
It
truly is.
It is. If you've never accomplished anything, you guys out there in the world...
Which is understandable, because they're Trek fans, of course.
Right. And, I'm not going to shame anybody, but you should try it sometime. Just set a goal, work for
doing
it.
Something.
Yeah. Learn a skill.
Learn Klingon. Hey,
There you go. You can learn about the Baksha.
the Rustai.
Yes, the Rustai. And what is the Batlift?
I'd love to learn Klingon. The Batlift. Yeah, that's right.
Learning a language.
I was dusting my computer.
You were dusting it?
Yeah.
I see. I hope you weren't crop dusting it. But learning a language really is just compiling a bunch of commonly used nouns and repeating them out of context.
Absolutely, yeah. And more than anything, sprinkling in foreign words while you speak English. So people know that you know the language. Exactly.
And I think we all do that with Klingon on occasion. Mm-hmm. Just throw it in there to show how cultured we are. Compared to the Muggles of the world.
Mm-hmm. We need a word as Trek fans to refer to normal people.
Terrans?
Huh?
Terrans?
What is that?
They're from Terra, from Earth.
Oh, Terrans.
What'd you think I said?
Karens.
Karens? Terrans. Yeah. Wait, wasn't Janeway's first name Karen?
Possibly. Well, she's gonna have to get canceled now.
Yeah, or get cancer. Whichever suits her better.
Either one works for me.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I gotta say, Mitch, it's colder than a witch's tit here today.
Yeah, well, it is January. That's one of the winter months. Did you know that there are? Well, of course you know there are 12 months in a year, but did you know that each season approximates about 3 months? So there's 4 seasons of 3 months that adds up to a year.
Wow.
Yeah, and January falls right in the middle of winter, which is December, January, and February.
Well, if you're unfortunate and you live up north in the world anywhere, winter is actually 6 months.
Really? You know me. I mind my longitudinal position more than most. So I would never be caught out in that kind of position.
Right. Fair. But, for our Canadian fans.
Yeah. Them with their moose and their Mounties and whatever pancakes. They do up there. Pancake. Well, I mean, they're more of a syrup people, so I don't know if they really care about the pancakes.
There's nothing you use syrup for besides pancakes.
It's a drink.
Except, I know I did have, I had a great old-fashioned with maple syrup in it once.
Is this liquor? Is this a cocktail?
Yeah. With whiskey and like the crushed fruit and stuff. It's really good.
This sounds like one of those drinks that people make where they bet somebody to drink it and just throw all the shit in their fridge in there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like, some crushed fruit, some maple syrup, some whiskey.
It actually is really good. Well, so I've only found the maple syrup one at one place.
Where was that?
And,
was that a barcade?
It was definitely not a barcade. I've been to a single barcade in my life.
Oh, is that for where people meet each other for dates? A singles barcade?
Yep. All right. Let's move on.
What? Oh goodness. Okay. I guess we'll move on then. On my command. We're not having a power struggle live on the podcast. So, I guess we'll move to the question of the week, and this week's our 100th question of the week comes from Mr. Tan in Japan, who asks...
Oh, he's a fan?
He's a fan! He asks, he says, Ohio Admirals, when, we live in California, but the Japanese aren't really privy to American geography, which is
Tokyo,
okay.
my friend.
Yes. Congratulations on 1 year of the show, which I guess he got confused with 100 episodes. What are your favorite moments from our time together on the Readier Room? Readily ready, Tan. Oh. Well, that's a great question. My favorite moment was when we had Frakes on the show.
Oh yeah, that was killer.
Now, what was fun about that was I'm sure most of you have heard the episode, but if you're a late bloomer to the Readier Room, we invited him on, and it took maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 into the episode before we told him what was going on. It was kind of like a hidden camera kind of thing, we just getting some candid Frakes shooting the shit. The Twitter fallout from that was one thing, but I think it was worth it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I don't think... I mean, we have some pretty exclusive footage, to say the least. I mean, Frakes has never been so defenseless.
And God knows we've wanted him in that position for decades.
Unfortunately, he didn't get defenseless enough. Not in the way we wanted him to.
No.
But, you get the alcohol flowing.
Yeah, I mean, we have some additives for that. Yeah. But it was a great time. Definitely my favorite guest that we've had, and altogether, one of my favorite people, Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah, definitely. Love the guy. How about that time one of the old production assistants mailed us a bomb?
I knew you were gonna bring that up, because this guy he'll never get over this. I have the package. I'm like, oh, look at this, and he's like, I think that's a bomb, and he's a man saves the day once, and
yep,
can never let it fucking go.
You need to be more observant, Mitch.
Look, sometimes, I've sent packages before that are just bundles of duct tape and hope, and if someone sent one to me, I'm not gonna assume the worst of them. That's racial profiling.
That's true. I mean, one time I got a package in a taped up Wheaties box.
Oh yeah? Do you think a champion sent it to you?
I wonder what that champion's doing right about now.
Well, it's not breakfast time, so we can rule out eating Wheaties.
What else? What other fun memories do we have?
Oh goodness, there was that time where we talked about Encounter at Farpoint, which I don't know if you remember, but that was our very first episode.
It was. That's right. I forgot Encounter at Farpoint was the first episode.
Yeah.
What a weird place to start.
It was a bold, creative decision that I was responsible for. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You did a good job. I'll admit that now. Sometimes you do a good job.
Yeah. It spurred our unending recollective admiration for good old Q-Man, John Delancey.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right.
Do you remember that time you called his voicemail live on the show?
Yes. I haven't heard back from him. I'm a little scared. I was a little bit drunk. Said a few things I probably shouldn't have.
Dude, I was egging you on, to be fair. It's like, oh, talk about his wife. Talk about his wife. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure any man would really be pleased to hear what I wanted to do to her.
But she would.
Whether that was, intentional or not. She would. I'm sure she would.
Yeah.
It's me. I mean,
yeah.
Of course.
Women, they just want you to... No, I'm not going to get into it. But
they're all kind of the same.
Right.
But one of my all-time favorite memories, among all of our interactions with the fans, I think. Because I love interacting with the fans.
I do, but mostly in the summer, when it's hot.
Yes, yeah. You can't leave them on at night.
Right, that's very dangerous.
You'll get fan death. Where the fans die.
Yes, which is not unlike Picard Season 2.
Which you can use sparingly when you need someone to kind of, kick it.
Mm.
But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention probably our biggest fan from the old DK Vine forums, Bomo.
Yes, he was with us from the very beginning, and it's not every day a fan like that comes along.
Yeah, he was our first ensign.
So
before we even knew it,
we'll tag Bomo on Twitter so everybody can message him. But please, give him some of the love that we give him. If everyone could, I'm sure he'd appreciate the sheer outpouring of emotion.
He definitely would. He's an interesting fellow.
He's very empathic. He's very in tune with the emotions and feelings of others. And
yeah. He's helped me with a ton of problems, actually.
Oh yes.
He's a good confidant.
He's a confidant I have confidence in. I have confidence in his confidant's confidence.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But here's to another 100 episodes of the Readier Room, and
that's right.
Perhaps at episode 200 will finally be the readiest room.
We'll get there. Yeah. By the end, we'll be the readiest. I mean, no one could possibly be readier by the time we get to the end of this.
That's true.
But domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tan. If you're like Mr. Tan in Japan and you want us to answer your question on the week, send us an email at thereadierroom@gmail.com or tweet at us at thereadierroom. And as always, those are with a capital T and 2 capital R's. But that middle R is not capitalized. And if your question's good, we'll answer it. But, here's to 100 more. And here's to it. And the first of those 100 more is about this episode we got here today.
Yeah, we have the bonding.
Right.
Interesting intersection of firsts for the show. We have Ronald writing. This is his first episode as writer. First episode of Michael Piller as showrunner. This episode, I think a lot of people were very excited about in the crew. It was a little bit desperate. I think we kind of had very little else to work with. But curious what you think of it.
I'm a little worried now, based on your tepid introduction. But I was into a lot of what this episode was putting down. I really liked the Worf stuff. I really liked the Lost stuff. I liked the Wesley stuff. I even liked Troy having more of a pronounced and useful role in this episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, this might be the most useful Troy's ever been.
She actually does counseling. She counsels people.
Although there was a line, and I'm throwing us forward just a little bit, and then we'll come right back. But there's a line where she says something like, "The emotions of the crew are particularly strong right now, and I can't filter them," which bothered me because it's like a single person died, and if that's enough to affect the crew, then I don't know, like maybe like someone getting divorced would cause that as well or something on a random day, and Troy just can't do anything.
It's like this is ostensibly a military vessel, right? And
well, it's less military. I mean, the Federation doesn't really do military.
no, but they're all
No.
equipped to die, or they're prepared to die in the
Yeah,
line
they're
of
prepared
duty.
to die. Yeah, right. So it shouldn't come as any surprise to a group of adults, really. Like maybe close friends, obviously, would be like, "Oh, well, that really sucks."
Right.
But
But there's
it's
like
one of those things where it's like it's at your job. You hear about it. You kind of like you're sad maybe for a little bit, or you're like my condolences or whatever. You forget it in like an hour.
there's thousands of people on that ship,
A ton of people.
and they would not. This random woman wouldn't ripple through the social atmosphere like that.
Like someone from the bridge crew, I could see, besides Yar.
Yeah.
Of course, someone from the bridge crew I could see, but yeah, I thought that line was a little silly, but otherwise, yes, Troy was very, very, relatively speaking, useful in this episode.
Good for her.
I liked it too. I liked this episode. There were, I don't know. I mean, like you have some stuff like Gabriel just being a weird looking kid,
Yeah.
and there's. The original pitch for this episode was that he was going to recreate his mother in the holodeck. It wasn't going to be an alien thing.
Which I don't think that's necessarily better or worse than what we got. It would be
maybe not.
It would be a different
It's
story.
interesting, though. If I could just say real quick, it's interesting though, just because recreating your mother in the holodeck, that's kind of your own volition. It doesn't happen to you. So it's more a kid throwing himself into a fantasy deliberately,
Right. Rather than
No.
perhaps succumbing to some kind of temptation.
but then I guess you have no kind of external threat, and probably maybe can't fill an episode with that.
Right.
But that was a Gene thing. Gene considered children of this era to be more familiar and accepting of death, which is psychotic, but that's what he wanted. So that's what we did.
Yeah, they hammer that home early on. Like, oh, they teach us about death in school. I understand death. Whatever the kid says,
Right.
and
Right.
I can accept that as a cultural shift, especially aboard again a vessel where everybody's parents have taken an oath to die if necessary. But it is a little odd because when you're telling a story like this, a lot of it, for it to resonate with the audience, it just has to be based in the audience's moral center rather than the characters, because it won't really be relatable otherwise, and then there's no point. So that was a bit of a strange direction, but at the same time, the way it plays out, they might as well not have mentioned it, because both Wesley and what's his name, the kid Jeremy, both of them exhibit pretty typical reactions to loss. They go through that cycle of anger and acceptance and whatever.
Yeah, sure. I definitely don't like how it was initially portrayed in the episode, where the kid just kind of sits there and does this like dead fish look at Picard as he tells him his mother is dead. I'm not sure I'd buy that.
Well, there's only
no
enough.
matter what century.
There's only enough acting points for one performer, and Patrick really had them cornered in that scene. He grabs the kid's hand and dramatic zoom in. It's like,
yeah. What did you think? So I feel like I don't remember Rick directing in this kind of way.
Yeah, the direction
if
was.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, it was.
There was a lot of like panning, a lot of like moving behind walls, which was really cool. A lot of pacing for some reason.
It was notably different, just from watching it.
There were a lot of. This is the one thing I didn't like. A lot of the conversation scenes were these static shots of just like claustrophobic static shots of each actor's face.
Yeah.
Completely non-changing, and one would talk and it would move to that one, and then the other would talk and it would move to that one. No change at all. No like pullback, nothing like that. It was very claustrophobic in some scenes. But some scenes it was like, well, I feel like I've never seen this in Star Trek before.
Yeah, I remember one scene where Worf and Troy are talking.
Yes, yeah, where it goes behind the wall.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, and that's the cut to the scene. And
Mhm.
first of all, I have no idea what that location is supposed to be, but
I have no idea either.
but it it was visually inspiring, I guess.
It was cool. Even the elevator with Picard and Troy where he stops the elevator. I feel like it's a different angle we've ever seen the elevator from.
Well, shots
Um,
inside the elevator are already kind of rare.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's a tiny space, so
Yeah, compared to the vast space outside the ship.
right.
Yeah,
Quite the dichotomy.
really saying something there.
The pacing stressed me out. I'm not sure why Patrick. I don't know if he was directed this way. I'm inclined to think so because Worf does the same thing. But Patrick paces around the elevator, the tiny elevator, and I wanted to choke him out. Just watching it, I'm like, stop, just stand still. It's stressful.
I think that's a little insane.
Was the color grading different too, or am I crazy for this episode? It seems darker.
I don't have an opinion on this. I didn't notice if it is darker. I think part of that for me was the couple of new sets that were made for the show are made it look different intrinsically in some ways. That combined with the direction, so I didn't really notice the color grading so much.
It might just be a season 3 thing anyway, and I just haven't noticed it till now.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time we don't even watch the episodes; we just listen to them at 2x speed.
Yeah, we lay down on the floor, close our eyes.
Boy.
So as a little bit of background too, just before we start getting into the episode as a whole, I did want to mention that this episode was initially pitched as kind of a way to replace Wesley.
Yeah.
Right. I think an informed fan, or at least an observant one, would probably be able to tell this. We'd kind of been struggling for a while because Wesley had he'd obviously lost his boyish charm at that point, right? He's a little awkward now. He's a little too old, but not old enough. He's in that like weird middle space where he's an awkward teenager. And TNG it just wasn't the same without a child actor that we could really make good use of, if you know what I mean. So we put this episode together as kind of a way to forcefully create a new Wesley. And it's interesting because all of Wesley's scenes in this episode, they were written to have this like kind of meta layer to them, where Will, as the actor, you pull back. Will, as the actor, slowly learns he's being replaced, which I thought was genius. And that's kind of the meta reason he doesn't want to talk to Jeremy, because he knows he's slowly fading into obscurity, right? But unfortunately, Gabriel, the actor for Jeremy, God bless him, he died in a car crash a few weeks later. I mean, no one liked him anyway, but
still tragic.
Still tragic.
Do you remember there was a bit of miscommunication and it ended up being an open casket funeral? And,
oh, Jesus.
Yeah, that was not supposed to happen. And when that happens without a solid forewarning to it's
the second most messed up child corpse I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you work in Hollywood long enough, right?
Yeah. Well. Anyway,
pretty good episode. And I'm interested to see if as we go along, as usual, it's weird because we keep agreeing with each other. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that happens on occasion. Occasionally it does not.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I'm curious if either of us will start to hate this episode halfway through talking about it.
That's part of the allure of the Readier Room.
Yeah.
Us losing affinity for things we previously liked. And hopefully the audience does too.
All right, so yeah, let's go through it. So, how does the episode start here?
The episode starts with the away team on an expedition, which includes Worf and a bunch of unnamed people, one of which dies.
Yes. They were the backdrop of the planet is that it was
the
there was some kind of
Koinonians.
war. Koinonians, famously named after John Quinones. Of What Would You Do?
Now, was he also initially conceived as a fish person?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he is, Latinx, so.
That's true. I always thought it was Latinx.
Well, no, that's stupid.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will do better next time.
You're Latinx, aren't you, Mitch?
I'm Latinx, which is why
Vaguely.
I thought it was Latinx. You see,
Well,
let me give it to you straight from the horse's mouth. People of that origin cannot pronounce Latin X. We all prefer to say Latinx.
well, I'm sorry to say, I know what's best for you, Mitch.
Look, Gringo star over here.
Yeah, why were they surveying this planet?
Archaeology. I think that
Okay.
that warring race had died out long ago, and they were doing an archaeological search of some sort. You know,
I guess
they're
makes
researchers.
sense, 'cause the woman who died is the head archaeologist.
Yeah. Well, now there's a power vacuum on the ship, which the episode does nothing to delve into.
Yes, unfortunately, much to our dismay. One thing that bothered me here was Picard really isn't in a rush to beam them up after Troy screams at him, "Beam them up now!" And then they contact him, "Captain, please beam us up now!" And he just slowly walks back to his chair.
You would think that would be standard procedure to just have everybody locked on 100% of the time on a strange planet.
Right. Yeah, not a great start to the episode for me, but they beam them all up to sick bay. This woman's dead, obviously.
They're
Worf
very quick to pronounce her dead, by the way.
Yeah.
Crusher walks up, like a second later, she's dead.
Crusher has lost her reviving abilities somehow. Maybe while she was the head of Starfleet Medical, she kind of lost her touch.
Maybe they banned her from doing that because it was just too strong for the plot.
It was witchcraft, is what it was.
We practice God-fearing medicine in this house.
Right. So unfortunately, she has to die. Marina's looking particularly haggard this episode, I must say.
I really... There's something about... And I was thinking about this while watching the episode. Not just her, but also the kid who played Jeremy, and maybe some other people. So many scenes of TNG just have characters standing with their arms just flat at their sides, without any life. And that's the only way they can talk to each other. And I noticed it a lot with Marina. She'd be standing there, maybe talking to Patrick, and just both of them just arms at, like they're carrying suitcases.
I'm gonna have to think about this. I'm not sure if that's ever really bothered me, but when you talk about it, yeah, obviously that is true.
Here is at least I bully Frakes about how he really doesn't know how to move like a human being, but at least he moves in a visually interesting and unique way that has a personality to it.
That might be part of his charm, is that he moves and everyone else doesn't.
Yeah. And then Data
that's a good observation.
Being a robot has an excuse for any kind of awkwardness.
Yeah, totally. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff about this show that, it feels slightly off in terms of like what you would expect from a human interaction.
Yeah,
but
it's like they're all aliens or something.
If you take note of the audience it's attracted,
yes,
you might understand why it's attracted that audience.
Okay, here's a question I just reminded myself of. This is very late in the episode, but at some point somebody says the line, "There's an alien presence in the transporter room," or wherever. But there's an alien presence there. And to my mind, to my ears, that is such a ridiculous thing to say on a starship that is made of people from different planets. Well, I mean, it's made of some kind of metal, but, you know, the crew is composed of people from different planets, and they regularly encounter people from different planets. Like, why would you call it an alien? Alien to what, exactly?
Alien to the ship. Alien to who's supposed to be on the ship.
So it could be a human being.
Yeah.
And if it's an infiltrator, it's an alien presence? It's
an alien presence. But I understand your point in that if that were to happen in an episode, they would not refer to it as an alien presence.
Absolutely not.
The intention is off.
Yes.
That's the issue. The end result makes perfect sense. The intention is what's wrong.
This is another Hectare situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we get a lot of Worf in this episode.
Which is good. I mean, the title ostensibly centers Worf in the episode, even if that's not necessarily how it bears out, but it is interesting stuff.
Yeah, I guess he's kind of dealing with the fact that he led the expedition and someone died under his watch, and he's also a Klingon, and she died for no reason, which is like the worst thing that could happen to a Klingon.
Right.
And now there's this child that he feels like he has some obligation to.
But he's also an orphan, so he has that going for. There's a lot of layers to Worf in this episode, and basically any one of them is decently interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. It didn't need to be all this. It didn't need to be an intersection of all these different factors. Even one of these things could make a compelling episode, but. And in fact, maybe it would have been better if it was just one of those things, because it almost makes it so complicated that you can't possibly touch on all those aspects.
That's true.
In a single episode.
I would have liked it even if it's kind of complex, to have just given Worf more screen time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just make it a Worf episode.
So, under the original vision of the kid in the holodeck, where it's like an intentional thing, Worf, without an antagonist or that much, not action, but proceedings, it would be a lot easier to have more emotional, dialogue-driven Worf moments of Worf being the one to kind of talk this kid down, but maybe in doing so, Worf has to process one emotion or another on his own, and it's kind of his journey, which by navigating that successfully, he's able to help the kid.
Which is why I do think that probably would have been if done right, it would have been a better episode.
I agree. Because the alien presence doesn't really amount to all that much, other than just an emotion inside of the kid. Right? Like, as an actor, as an entity, it doesn't really do much.
No, it doesn't, and even further than that, just as a concept, it's a little far-fetched to me that this race of energy beings has such trauma that they feel like they need to beam themselves up to a starship to make a kid happy.
Yeah, it is strange, and I am curious about. So these guys, this race, saw the other race obliterate itself, which
I know where you're going.
Yeah, which implies that race had human-like flawed emotions, and at that point, they should have enough experience to understand where the people on the Enterprise are coming from emotionally.
Yeah, certainly. I hate this episode now.
We did it.
I fucking hate it. No, honestly, it is really stupid, and unfortunately, it's like, on the one hand, it's like, what do you do when Gene says he doesn't like something? I mean, you obviously have to change it, but I don't know if there could have been any better way to do it. The problem is, like, just this race of beings is not believable, and their intentions are not believable, and you need them to drive the plot forward, so you have to kind of just willfully blind yourself to all that.
Right.
And they're not the focus of the plot anyway, so it's not like the biggest deal, but it does detract from it a little bit.
Well, when there's a another way to have done what this episode is trying to do without suffering all of this minor inconsistency. It makes it sting a little bit more. Whereas if it had been completely necessary to deliver, what was otherwise an engaging plot, then that's a lot easier to overlook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just unfortunate, but I don't know. What can you do?
Complain on our podcast. 40 years later.
Yeah, so we already touched on this, but Picard goes and talks to Gabriel. Not Gabriel. Gabriel's the actor. Jeremy, the character.
Yes.
I can't not think of him as. Can we talk about Gabriel for a little bit?
Sure. I mean, he's quite
such a little shit.
Quite the little spitfire, I would say.
Yeah.
To the point where I question if that car just intended to hit him. But that's neither here nor there. A lot of drama on the set caused primarily by him, because really, he relentlessly bullied Patrick, of all people.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, and it started out just like, he's a kid, maybe he's making a joke or two, whatever. Patrick is kind of like, he was uncomfortable, but he shrugged it off.
Mm-hmm. Intensity
went up, as bullies tend to do, and Patrick went to Winnie, the director, and he's like, "Oh, can we do something about this?" And after a brief deliberation, this was decided to be method acting. And I don't know if you know what method acting is. It's what Method Man does when he was in his brief acting career. But yes, method acting for Patrick in this case was that Picard is somebody who hates children, and to properly get into that headspace, Patrick needed the motivation to truly hate a child with all of his heart. Right. And it was decided that the bullying would get him there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to a degree it did work out, but I mean, that kid, man.
Yeah, I mean, every trick in the book, this kid did. Like, you would think, okay, a whoopee cushion, a wet willy. It's like, no, how about he puts like a nail on your seat, so when you sit down, you get stabbed.
Right. Yeah. No, it was like actual
harmful.
Like, yeah, terrible. And possibly the worst thing. Not even that. I mean, I wasn't the victim. You and I weren't the victim of any of this, but one thing we were a victim of was every day after filming, if he didn't get like a new toy, he would just get red in the face and start spitting and screaming until someone like gave him something,
Yeah. Which is pretty. That's my image of children in some ways, but
yeah. I mean, for the most part,
if it's your kid, you can just hit it. But someone else's kid,
right? Yeah. Well, I mean, not that we didn't. When his mom was away, we could do whatever we wanted. I mean, you remember that scene where Jeremy cries?
Yes.
Right? That like split second.
The two tears.
And it was impossible to get this kid to cry or like emote in any way, but especially cry. And we tried everything, because his mom wasn't there. We tried to we tried beating him up, kicking him around a little bit.
Oh, beating him up. I thought you said beaming him up.
No, we didn't beam him up. That's fictional.
That's
a fictional thing. No, yeah, like we roughed him up a little bit. We taunted him, tried to insult him, all that stuff. And like nothing was working to get this kid to cry. He was just a little asshole.
He was kind of a master at it, We'd say something to like break his spirit, and he'd say, "I know you are, but what am I?" And we just kind of looked at each other like, "What are we going to do about this?"
Right. No, I mean, there's nothing you can do at that point.
Right.
There's nothing you can do. He won.
It's impenetrable.
But Rick, I mean, this is actually pretty genius. Rick sat him down and he asked him, do I need to call Gene? And Gabriel just started absolutely bawling at that point, like just immediately. And I guess Gene just had that effect on kids,
Oh, he had that effect on everyone, especially the female members of the cast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, kids and women.
Yeah,
women and children.
The first ones on the lifeboat are there to get away from Gene. They say never work with kids.
They do say never work with kids. They also say not to do a lot of other things with kids.
Right, that's really bad advice at the pedophile
was,
ring.
That was violated several times during our stint here.
Yes. And yet we still have jobs.
Somehow.
Speaking of I don't even know how to put this. Speaking of all of this, you can't see, but I'm gesturing. So there's one scene that in this episode that really stuck with people, or people were stuck on it. It was a bit of a negative, I believe. You might have noticed that you'll never see this episode in syndication. Which, for those not in the know, that's when television shows air out, reruns, basically is what you'd call them. You never see this episode in reruns. And the reason for that, it was the mild pedophilia controversy that stemmed up.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more than mild.
Right, the severe pedophile controversy that came up. There's a scene where Worf and Jeremy are alone in a bedroom, and automatically, there were some red flags going off. And I believe they're talking about the bonding, which, again, red flags. And Jeremy is grieving, and Worf's telling him about the bonding, and Worf says, "Perhaps we could do it together." And then the scene cuts. It's cut to black.
Yes.
The audience is left to fill in what happened next of them doing it together. And the censors didn't like that one. Parents didn't like that one. A lot of kids watch Star Trek, and parents really didn't like seeing their kid be groomed by Michael Dorn in facial prosthetics. So that one...
Paramount didn't like that.
Paramount didn't like that either. Nobody liked that. Michael liked it, but nobody liked that.
Gene liked it.
Yeah, that's true. But the short of it is that it was pulled from the rerun schedule.
Yeah. I mean, not only that, but Worf displays his premeditated intent to Troy when he talks about his plan to make Roostai with the boy. Yes.
This was not a spur of the moment thing.
Right. Because sometimes you walk into a room, you see a sexy little child, and you just can't help yourself. But
we've all been there.
Worf was planning to do this without having ever seen the kid, so
it's true, which adds another layer to the degeneracy. I mean, could you imagine just on a regular, how many people would just sign up to have sex with somebody without ever having seen them? Nobody would do that.
Well, I feel like people do that.
Do they though?
If you want to make it that general, then yeah, I think people do that.
I don't think they should necessarily, or that it's acceptable in polite society.
No, maybe not.
Perhaps impolite society would endorse it.
Well, we do live in that. We are in California.
That's true. The California. So what happened next? The Worf.
We kind of left off. Oh no, yeah. So Worf goes and visits the kid. Perhaps we can do it together.
Right. They copulate.
Picard irresponsibly sends Geordi down to the surface.
Yeah.
For some reason.
After the first black man almost blows up, he says, "All right, send the other one." They're the only ones I'll risk.
But it's okay because he comes back with the device. They figure out what it was. There's no reason for them to have figured out what it was. It does nothing for the plot.
No, they just needed an explanation for the attack.
Which we could have inferred anyway.
How about isn't it a wild coincidence that the only time a non 100% bridge crew away team was used was the time where something bad happened?
Yeah, but it's a coincidence that's got a lot of legacy to it. So, you know, it's I've become numb to it, really. The jumping back a little bit, the Riker and Data scene.
Oh, oh, really?
Which
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but you could have told me the conceit of this scene, and I could have written it word for word exactly how it played out.
Now, yes, but to me, this scene is hilarious in that it is, to me, written as an extreme test of Riker's patience to not just hit this robot, to fucking slap it, because it's so dumb. It's like a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, somebody.
Data is 3 years old.
Oh, well, I was right. I don't know. It was a bad scene. It was a useless scene, and I usually don't mind Data's shenanigans. Like, oh, what is humanity? How do you guys work? What are our emotions? Whatever. But canonically, Data's already been around people who've experienced loss, and they allude to that. No, that's it. Just A. That's it. No B. Just cut it.
I mean, I do think he's smart enough to infer that human beings form certain kinds of relationships with certain people that are stronger than others.
Yeah, but
and that's really that is pretty much all that needs to be said. I don't hate it so much. I just hate how it was written.
Badly?
Or not I don't hate it. I was just like, I don't know. I found it funny because it was such a predictable scene.
It was. I mean, and that is how it was written. I think part of that being so predictable is the ability to call it bad writing. You don't want every Data scene to play out the exact same way.
Right. It does feel a little bit season 1-ish.
It does. That's a really good way to put it. Do you like Riker's moral grandstanding about the nature of human violence and perceptions of death?
I don't know if that was moral grandstanding. I thought that, I don't know.
What would you call it?
It's not grandstanding in as much as it is like, you know, Riker kind of admitting to Data that humans are, you know, kind of illogical in a certain way, maybe. I don't know. It's a topic that Data brought up. I don't even know how I want to articulate this.
All right, do you have the ability to articulate it?
It's not the issue is it's not Riker's own opinion. It's more an objective observation, it seems like.
True, but nestled with
it's true.
It is, but nestled within that is is a bit of high grounding, I think.
I don't think so. I think you're who hurt you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I read it that way, but whatever. It's not a good scene anyway, so fuck it.
It's certainly vestigial to the episode.
Yeah. Data himself is very vestigial to the episode. I think they just put that scene in so Brentwood has something to do.
I mean, I kind of like that. Data has a lot of screen time, and I really like Data, but he's not somebody that has to appear in every episode in a meaningful way.
Yeah, only when they need super strength.
Yeah. Somebody needs to Mog Worf.
They're treating Worf a lot better now.
They are.
That's for sure.
He's really earned it.
Yeah.
Now that Pulaski's gone, aka the only person who ever respected him, somebody's got to pick up the slack.
Yeah. No, it's watching season 1 and even parts of season 2. I was like, how did Michael Dorn put up with this? Like, his character was just treated so poorly.
Well, luckily it's fiction, so they probably treated Michael pretty well.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. You don't want to be part of a long-running show and have your character have no screen time.
A long-running show?
Time. Yes, a long. Yep. All right, never mind. Let's move on.
Oh boy.
You know what I've noticed with these episodes is we spend a lot of time in like the first half of the episode,
And then it's like, oh, then the episode ends. They fix the problem.
and I wonder if that's our fault or if it's the fault of the way the episodes are constructed.
I don't think it's necessarily a fault of anything. It's that we spend time discussing the setup, the conceit of an episode, which has more to do with the first act and somewhat the second than necessarily the resolution in the third act. Or,
yeah, sure.
I mean, traditional act structure, not the television, like 5 act structure of the commercials, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel we're doing a disservice to the ending of the episodes because, to be honest, there's a lot of episodes that really have a speedy conclusion in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. I guess that's fair. I've just noticed this is a trend. One thing I do want to point out is, and here's something that I didn't quite understand. I don't know if this is a reference to something, but at some point the energy alien, makes its way into the ship. I guess if we move back a little bit, the energy being makes its way into the ship, unbeknownst to us, and masquerades as Jeremy's mom.
Right.
Right. At this point, we don't know what it is, but we later find out that it is an
alien presence.
An alien presence that has infiltrated the ship and later takes it over. Not takes it over, but
threatens to.
Worms around in its computer system for a bit. And there's a scene in, I think, engineering where Geordi's trying to deal with it or something, just observing it.
Yeah.
And he says, let's hope it doesn't blow us to Kingdom Come. Where is Kingdom Come?
That's, to be honest, I know about a Kingdom Come, but that was at an adult store back in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing I thought of.
Right.
What is Kingdom Come? Is this...
It could be like...
What were they thinking here?
Do you know King the Ka?
King the Ka.
King the Ka, the roller coaster.
Oh. That's awful. That's way too niche.
You knew about it.
I'm moving on.
Okay.
But good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Really not bad. What the fuck happens after?
So there's an alien presence, and basically, I think Worf is the first one to discover it with Jeremy, and he alerts the crew, and from then on, it's basically a series of conversations. Troy and the alien, Picard and the alien, Wesley and Picard, Jeremy and Worf.
I think like I said, we kind of touched upon this at the beginning of the episode. Not really, earlier at least, not really like the most compelling stuff. To be fair,
some of it works. Once Wesley gets involved, I think everything from there is pretty good.
I don't know. We have this weird counseling session.
Yeah, which is
with everyone in the room. How do you feel?
It's kind of where this conflict naturally heads, though.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone
has to unpack their trauma, their emotional baggage. Is that where the term unpack comes from? Emotional baggage? Because that's what you do with baggage?
Yeah, actually, maybe. Yeah, it is. It could be.
Let's unpack this.
You want to look it up?
No, I don't.
I'm gonna.
All right, you look it up. But you're right. We're just right at the end of the episode again. Yeah. Amazing how that works.
Yeah. I don't know. There's still plenty of stuff to talk about.
There is. Wesley gets introduced here, and this is where we get the glimpse of the original season 3 plot line of Picard being the one to orchestrate the deaths of his parents and Jeremy's parents.
That's right, and you can kind of see it too because Patrick's acting there's it's in his eyes,
Yeah.
That scene.
He's trying to play the duplicitous bastard here, where he's he's counseling these guys and consoling them, but at the same time he's taking pleasure in the situation as it's evolved. I think it was around the production of episode 10 where we changed course and ended up landing on the best of both worlds finale, you know.
Yeah.
But what could have been?
I know, seriously. I feel like we had, at least per season, we had some kind of idea like this. That just never really...
That's just creative industry, though, you know?
I suppose.
And I don't mind that. Sometimes the idea you get to is better than the one you started with. Occasionally it's worse. You know, you can't help that. But it's part of the process. You gotta, what do they say, kill your babies?
Yeah, eat your babies.
You gotta eat your babies.
Mm-hmm.
And
like a hamster.
Right.
Who feels threatened.
Which synthesizes that idea into a new one, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With
the nutrients of that child.
Right. It's true. I mean, what we got with the best of both worlds was, in the end,
it truly was the best of both worlds.
It was the best of both worlds. We got evil Picard,
and we got Borg, and then we got Captain Riker,
and we eventually got Picard walking around his vineyard.
Yes, which
is iconic.
Yeah, which quick. I don't want to steal from Harry to pay Paul here, but I remember Patrick was violently against going to a vineyard. He really wanted Picard to be at like a Budweiser factory instead.
Yeah. He thought it was cooler that way.
Right, which fit his sensibilities more, if not the characters. But
right, yeah. Patrick was really big on. I'm actually not sure why he stuck around for so long, because the show is so at odds with what he thought his character should be.
Yeah.
Which is like a cool badass kind of guy, and his family owning a Budweiser factory would have been, of course, a lot more cool back in the day. Oh, actually, it's funny you mentioned this, because I heard this from Ron Moore. When he visited the set one day. I can't remember which one it was, but I'm not sure how much of this is true. But apparently Patrick, he cornered him in the hallway, and he pushed him up against the wall, like really violently, and just demanded that he write the next episode with Picard doing a lot of, like, to quote him, fucking and killing.
Right, I remember that quote.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart was constantly concerned about the fact that Captain Picard doesn't have sex and doesn't shoot anyone.
He was too much of a Nancy, is what Patrick would say.
Yeah. That's right. That British slang there. Yeah. But yeah, so he corners Ron, and I guess Ron. I mean, I don't know. Like, if I was in that situation, I would probably be the same way. He kind of just froze on the spot. I mean, it's the star of the show, Patrick Stewart, just pinning you against the wall. So right. He was completely speechless. And Patrick, he kind of starts to break down. He curls himself up into the fetal position, and he just repeats over and over again, "Baby wants to fuck. Baby wants to fuck." And he kept doing that until Ron said, I'll consider it. And then he got up completely just straight faced and walked away.
That's ultimately what led to the episode where Picard goes to that pleasure planet and meets that archaeologist.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Although it still didn't work out really in Patrick's best interest, really, right?
It was a bit of a tease.
Yeah.
But when he first sees that script, and he's like, "Oh," and there's that line where Riker's like, "Oh,"
he get very excited.
Yeah, he buys that like sex idol or whatever.
Yeah. God, that was a good episode.
Let's just skip to that one.
Fuck it. Let's do it.
Fuck the emotional triumphs and tribulations of this episode and its themes.
I want to see Picard being hit on by hot women.
Yeah.
so I can insert myself into that situation.
I really want to see Picard explaining to somebody why he has to be on the bottom because his body just can't do it anymore. That's what I want.
Poor Patrick.
Can't have that in Picard season 3.
Can't have what?
Any number of sexually suggestive themes, lest the audience projectile vomit.
Well, I'm sure we stuck a few into Picard season 2, so.
Yeah, well, sometimes you wish you didn't. Just like I wish Patrick didn't stick a few. You know what?
Yeah, that was a shame. Yeah. God, I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Uh...
Where do you go from that? So everybody works through their issues. They hug it out. The alien leaves, and and they have the bonding. The Ruthai?
The Roostai.
Roostai. The rooster has come home to Roostai,
which consists of lighting candles.
Right. Which this is less of a story and more of a comment, but Michael Dorns is really bad at lighting candles.
He's really bad.
At least the lighting was on point for the Roostai. Worf in his blue room, which I guess is where he goes to be sad. Give it.
It really is perfect for Klingon rituals, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's mood lighting. It's dramatic. It's a little like, I don't know, a little pussy, a little dickless for it to be like, oh, we're the Klingons. We light candles. That's what we're about.
Yeah. And that was the impression I got as well watching this episode again. And God, it really is tame. It's a really tame ceremony, especially compared to what we've seen before. I mean, there was that one ceremony where it was like, what the fuck, like Worf's birthday or something, and he got himself like electrocuted. So you wonder, and of course, any real fan would wonder, why is this scene so tame? And the answer is, I think, pretty obvious. We were gonna do a scene where Michael, in real life, by the way, this was like a big commitment type thing. Michael was going to slash his hand open and hold his hand above Gabriel's open mouth and just drip blood into it. And it was going to be beautiful, I think, at least from how I heard it described. The unfortunate thing is Gabriel's mother was on set that day, which was a rare occurrence, of course. And she threatened to call the police on us, so we ended up having to kind of neuter the scene, and our artistic vision just it didn't make it onto the screen. No, that's just women. Am I right?
Can't live with them.
Don't want to live with them.
Won't stop. Well, that's kind of it. That's the bonding, and that was the titular bonding at the end there.
Yeah, that was the bonding. They bonded, and then Jeremy disappeared.
Right, never to be seen again. Instead, Worf's other son came back, and eventually his other brother comes back, and nobody mentions Jeremy at all. I'm sure Jeremy, when Michael Dorn shows up in Picard season whatever, that's when I'm sure an adult Jeremy who petitions the studio for a job will be written in somehow.
That would be perfect. That would be quite the conclusion to this long-running arc.
Yes.
Of Jeremy disappearing.
Picard lands at Worf's house in, suburban Arizona, and it's just him and Jeremy living together.
Worf is in bed with Jeremy. Captain, I'm not expecting.
Captain, we bonded.
Yes, I see that, Mr. Wolf. Oh man! All right, so final thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I still like the episode. I still like it quite a bit. I was getting this very emotionally centered episode that deals with a variety of more complex emotions was satisfying, but also kind of rare for the series. And while not executed as best as it could have been, it was still engaging television. And I think this is part of why season 3 is kind of heralded as the homecoming of this episode of this series.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way. I don't really necessarily dislike it significantly more than when we started. So, I still hate Gabriel. I think he's a very unappealing child actor.
Yeah, we didn't need that many close-ups.
No. But otherwise, yeah, it's a good episode. Yeah.
Good.
It's great.
Good for them. Did it. It gets a solid, pretty good out of 10.
Yeah. 3 Enterprises out of 5.
Right, and those Enterprises are never alone.
Cute.
Thank you.
All right, I got a question for you.
Lay it on me.
So, perhaps, unsurprisingly, Jeremy shows up in the comics, the Star Trek comics.
Fucking course he does.
And as always, I've sourced this question from our friends at Memory Alpha, our close colleagues.
Yes, our co-patriots.
Mm-hmm. And there's this little blurb here about how he interacts with Worf in a certain comic. And so at some point, he seems to contact Worf from Earth. And he asks him for advice about something.
Mm-hmm. So is that your question? What is he asking for advice on?
What's the topic? Yeah, what's the topic?
Well, I'm kind of stuck on romance here. Do I get to know his age?
He's older.
Okay, then I'm gonna assume it's romance. Now, going a little further, it might be easy to say, Worf, how do I get a girlfriend? I think that's a question everybody's wanted to ask Worf at some point. And it's something that was done in the series. But I'm going to go a little further and say that it's like, how do I propose, or something about my wife? A bit more nuanced, developed relationship than just courtship. Either that or how to file his tax return. But
well, I mean, you're right. It's romance.
Okay.
Which is hilarious. But I'm not sure how deep that goes, actually.
How so?
I'm not sure exactly what the context is.
Oh, it's just romance?
Of said romance. Yeah, it just says romance.
So I was right.
You were right.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Suck it to me, baby. I'm fucking it up. I'm killing it. Go me.
Who asked Worf for romance advice?
Wesley Crusher did. Did
he?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if we've watched.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Did we watch that episode? Yeah, we
think
did.
We watched that episode. Yeah.
There's that scene where Worf just screams and he says, "This is how a Klingon attracts a mate."
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Good times.
Do you think he screamed at Jeremy?
I can only hope. This pedophilic encounter played out as I'm imagining it, as I'm fantasizing about it. So, well, with another victory under my belt, I guess that's going to be it for today.
Yeah, I guess so.
We round out episode 100 the same way we've rounded out 75% of the previous episode, which is through a victory on my part.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I try my hardest. I'm going to remind everybody at home about our helpful sponsors. You know, of course, Denny's, home of the Grand Slam. We're now sponsored by the Yeti, which is a t-shirt business. Now, we still sell ours on Teespring, but the Yeti is sponsoring us, so be sure to buy our t-shirts, and with any leftover money, maybe you can look at theirs. And, you know, as always, if there's a problem with your car, bring it over to Pep Boys, and they're the home of the 1-minute oil change, and they'll get you going. Just mention Mitch, or say that you're Readier at checkout, and they'll help you help you out. They'll hook you up.
That's right.
Yes. For everybody else, thank you for 100 episodes. You've been readier until now, and we hope that for the next 100, you guys at home, all of you, stay readier.
The troublesome little man-child.
I stand before you defrocked, condemned to be a member of this lowest of species.
Thank you, Ensign. Engage.
Do you consider yourself superior to us?
Should have told him to mind his own damn business.
But I stroked the beard thusly. Do I not appear more intellectual?
Computer, freeze program.
Have you never dreamed of climbing inside the bottle?